Welcome to Funny's Designs. This is a live stream, but it is very early in the UK. And this is recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm currently making another little book of watercolours. And I'm putting in today the Gansai Tambi watercolours. I'll probably only get 6 because it's a long process. But when I made this, by definition, you scoop out a colour and you put it into here. Now, I made this about 4 years ago. I've just found a video with Kurkate Gansai Tambi watercolours have actually brought out a paper palette like this. So you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this, go by theirs. But if you want to put any pan of colour, if it's water-based and it's in a pan, this is how you can put it into a little book. And you can still put your pencils in. So you've got your 72 ink pencils, you've got your, I forgot what they're called, the peerless, you've got your Inktense, your Don't watercolours, the Graphy Tint, Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s. I'm going to put my art bars in here. So I'll still get a good 300-400 colours in here, which I think is a 21st century watercolour travel pack. And I've also got professional couple of millimetres of pans that I've cut out and put in there as well. But the Gansai Tambi watercolours are beautiful colours, but this is a little bit, I dropped this and these fly out everywhere. I've made mine and I've used them once, as you can see. I used them the other day. It's the first time I've used them because I used them out of the paper palettes, because you have a lot more control over these paper palettes than you have from a pan. So without further ado, I shall be using a fairly old brush. But the problem I have is, once you've made one, you have a brush full of colour. As a tight Yorkshire lass, I cannot just put that into my water pot and wash it away. So when I put mine in, I coloured some paper, a colour book, only a pound shop cheapy one, but I made 20 pages of colour just from watercolour that I would have thrown away that was in my brush. So, for instance, I would take, I can't find them actually, they shouldn't be far away. Let's see if I can find them to be in. Oh, here they are. So I chose things I didn't like. And I had my little squares that I'd cut here, and I won't do it yet because I don't want to quit. I made a puddle of colour in one of them and I squeezed it out. I'll do it on the red one. And I squeezed the colour out. And I scooped out some more and did the colour. And I did this till I have a big fat puddle of colour sitting on sketchbook paper, not on watercolour paper, because watercolour paper absorbs colour. We want the colour to sit on top. So when I'd done that and I squeezed it out, I even got a scalpel blade, a paper palette, and I squeezed them off. So that was then full of colour, and I couldn't just wash it out. So what I did, I used a slightly bigger brush than this. I picked, the first one I did was, and you'll have to bear with me because there's a lot, there's 20. That was the second page. So I have got my little colour paper palette that I wanted. This is drying, and I now have this full of water. So the first one I did was red, was here. So I coloured in this shape, and then I coloured in another shape somewhere else. And then it was getting dry, so I dipped the brush, just the end of the brush, just the end in the water, just the tip, and then I carried on. And what you have to do is, after a while, you have to bend it like this, because all the colour is up here and there's no colour at the end. So if you bend it, you can then carry on. And I did some more colour and some more colour until I got some quite pale pinks, and then I carried on. So from those 6 reds of putting a paintbrush of colour, I got these 2 full pages. By the time I'd finished putting all my 36 Gansai Tambi watercolours into my little book with 36 palettes of colour, I had coloured in 20 full pages of mandalas and patterns. That was from the first one, actually. That was a pattern. That green is from the same green. They were very pale colours. That was the silver. They were the greens. They were the purples. And I took the paintbrush to nothing, absolutely nothing. And the water pot, when I'd finished, was completely clear. They were the first yellows and greens, and they were the second ones. And they were the third ones. So I got 20 pages of full, and they are full pages of colour. But this is because the Gansai Tambi watercolours are professional watercolours, and their pigments are very good. But all this paint, if I was doing a colour swatch, would be washed down the drain. All that colour. So I shall just do one because it takes a long time. So I thought I'd do it in the Joanna Basford watercolour book. So I've cut my little squares. So I want a square of colour. Alfie, shush. And I don't take them out, but that's a number, well, I'm pretty sure it's a number 32. It's a number 32. Now this isn't my watercolour brush, but I'll probably put it at the back. So I'm just going to put 32 at the back, because I want to put it in a book neat and tidy. And that one's not very square. So I put 32 at the back. I know that's the number. I do want a nice paintbrush. I might have to use one of these. I might use this one. See what happens with that one. I don't think it'll work with a rigger. Alfie, shush. I did use quite a large brush, otherwise you'd be there all day. But if you use too large a brush, you won't be able to colour in. And that's what I want to do. And the beauty of it is, because it's the same red, the colours will be the same. I'm going to do this one here. So, I don't like that paintbrush, I have to say. I think I'll do this one. It might not be as good because I'm going to do it smaller, but as I say. What did I just do with that there? Yeah, I can't use such a big brush. So what we want to do is put some water in here, a couple of paintbrushes full, and you've got quite a nice puddle there. So we've got 32 written on there, which is this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to squish that colour onto here. I'll do it on here because that's where it's going. Alfie, shush, darling. So scraping this colour off here. And really making a big fat puddle of colour. So there's a really nice big fat puddle of colour on here. It's not going to last forever, but you know it's very vibrant, and it means that you can leave these gorgeous things at home. But there's a big fat amount of colour on there. Probably just going to see if I can just get maybe. Shush, Alfie, shush. Alfie's just been in one of his whinging modes. So again, scoop up the colour. You want a nice amount. And twist the brush to get as much colour out as you can. And then I'm actually going to use this to see if I can scrape out even more. So that's my little fat puddle of colour, which is going under there safe. They're going over here. And now I've got this paintbrush full of colour. So I'm just going to start... Alfie! For goodness sake! I quite like this one here. So I'm just going to paint this one. And you can twist it into a thing, and you've got beautiful vibrant colours. And the other thing this does is it also tells you or shows you your colour range from that palette. So I wonder if I got hundreds and hundreds of colours. As you can see, it's a bit dry because I've been messing about. I didn't do this under big light last time, so it's drying out a little bit. If I'm very quick, I will get this large petal. But actually I'm only going to get one petal out of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch just the end. Just barely touch it. And that's released a lot of colour. Now if you're doing a colour swatch, you normally just wash your brush out. But what I want to show you is just, I shouldn't have done this big one. I thought I'd get more. The other one I got a lot more, but it was a bigger brush. Right. So that's a little bit dry, so I'm going to just touch that and carry on. And this isn't actually a brilliant brush to do because it isn't a fine point one. The Gansai Tambi watercolour, I'm working quite dry obviously. I normally pick things I don't really like, but I wanted to show these gorgeous colours in here. Again, just touch the tip and just manoeuvre that down a little bit and then carry on colouring. It doesn't go to a point very well, this one. So that's quite dry now, so just the tip again and manoeuvre that around. I'm just going to squiddle that back into a point, because for some reason it doesn't want to. So I've got a bit more control over it at the edges. But you can see just how much paint is thrown down the drain. And as a tight Yorkshire lass, not very happy with that. So again, it's getting a bit dry, just a touch, just on the end. Oh, I can't get the paint point on this one. Perhaps I got a very good brush last time. So again, just touching the end, manoeuvring the paint down the brush. And you don't think it's much paint you're wasting, but when you think this is just one colour, and again just touching, manoeuvring that, just gently, don't damage your brush, just gently manoeuvring that colour down so that that drop of water can take that colour all round that petal. And if you do it on a flower like this, I did it on a mandala because I thought it would work better, but you can see how many different shades of red we've got from that one now. Again, if we turn that round, especially on a flower, you'll see it change as we go around. So again, a tiny drop of water, and because it's a big pattern, I can manoeuvre that just gently. Because there's still a lot of colour on there. Now this only works if you've got good quality pigments in your watercolours. You can't do this from the pound shop ones. But that means that that little square of colour that's in there is going to give an awful lot of colour for your colour books. So it's worth doing because you've got such a lot of colour. I mean, if I've got all this colour from one paintbrush, just think what you've got, and that's a little bit too wet. So we've got to be a bit careful. We're on a colour book. And I've never done this before in here. I did it in really cheap, nasty pound shop colour books before. There's still a lot of colour left in here. So if I go around here, so if you were working on a small flower, you could start where the deep is at the bottom and then work up. And so your little flowers would be very pale because they would be in the most light. But they're all connected. So again, if I just go over there, you have a natural highlight. And I've still got a lot of colour in there. So I can do two things. I can either go in the centre of this flower, or I can go somewhere else. There's one very similar next to it, but there's one identical at the other side. So I'm going to go over here. Hi Suzanne. Anybody else I've missed? Welcome to Bunny's Designs. I am extracting paint from this paintbrush that I've made on my little squares. So probably what will happen is the page on the other side will be the vibrant first 6 or 7 shades, and this will be a paler shade. So that's one, and again I think I've got enough to do this one. I'm going to do this one next. I like to keep it quite dry. This paintbrush is not particularly very good. It will not keep its shape. But I can't change because obviously this is what the brush is here for. it's here because it's got the paint on it. And that's why I chose a not particularly very good thing. So we've got those two. Now it's dry as that brush, but there's a lot of colour left on it. So again, and this is a job to do on a rainy afternoon when there's a film on. It's not a job to do when you're in a rush because it takes a long time. But you're colouring in, you're practising going around your edges, you're practising with different shades of colour. One colour, and we'll count how many. I think I got 30 last time. So I have one paintbrush of colour, and we'll just see how many we get. So again, it's a little bit dry. I'm just touching the edge. Just as soon as you break the surface of the water, lift the brush. You want it very, very dry. Tease the colour. And as I say, this you can only do this with good quality paints. So any pan, professional pan watercolour, Cotman watercolours will probably do it as well. Although I just touched that a little bit too much. That's a little bit too wet, really. Luckily, this Joanna Basford water paper can take that. So I've now got enough to do the next one. And all the while, this brush is getting paler and paler and paler. And these colours are getting paler and paler and paler. But this is not a quick job. But you are putting your colours into your little book. And you are practicing colouring in. And you are experimenting with how many colours, or shades of colour, shall we say, you can get from one. So again, all I'm doing is, as soon as it's touched the surface, I pick it up. I don't want the tiniest amount of water. The tiniest amount of water. And just fade through this. So I may stop there purely because this brush is not particularly very good. Now I did make a video of this, but I wasn't well, and it was the very first video I made, and it was very bad. But as you can see, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14, 16. I've got 18 shades of red from that one palette and that Gansai Tambi watercolour. And there's still quite a lot of colour in there. So what I'm going to do is, that's actually quite dry, but it's still full of colour. Remember, that was the white paintbrush. So I'm going to touch this in here. And I'm going to pick a different flower. So these could be all reds. I'm going to pick this one here. And again, you just knock down there, tease that colour out, and keep going. So we've got 18 colours so far. And you just keep going. Sometimes you get 2 petals out. Bearing in mind, these are quite large petals. And sometimes you don't. So again, I'm just going to touch that edge. Push it down once, manoeuvre that little bit of colour that oozed out. And because it's quite wet, I've got enough to do another one. And this is just to show you how much paint you waste when you make a colour swatch and you chuck it down the pan. And that's a leaf, and that's a leaf, but there is a highlight on there. So I've got some more pale colours. There's still a lot of colour in here, so I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to pick this one over here. I should have done 2 on that side actually, but never mind. You live and learn. Again, there's still quite a lot of colour in here. And these are really beautiful, subtle pinks, really pastel pale pinks. A touch more colour and bend the colour out, because all the colour is in the neck of this brush, but it's not going down the drain, it's going on my colour page. And you can tease it down. Because you know it's there, because that paintbrush is pink, and when I wash this paintbrush out it'll be clear. And there's still quite a lot of colour in there, so we've got some really lovely pale pinks, all from that first rich red from the Gansai Tambi watercolour. So I'm actually going to go back over here, and I'm going to use this one. Again, it was still wet, so it depends on your lights, it depends on your atmosphere. You've just got to judge it for yourself. That, you know, are you teasing all that colour out of the neck of this brush? And you may not like pale colours, but it also teaches you, again I say, what you waste. As a tight Yorkshire lass, this colour is going on this paint. So I nearly put my paintbrush in, I forgot. Nearly forgot. So again, teasing it round, more colour. You couldn't do this every time, but of course you're not going to put your Gansai Tambi water in there every time. It's just to show you how much colour that you waste. And if you have a colouring book, you can sit there, put your colours in to your little book of watercolours, and colour in at the same time. Yeah, the dog's gone to see hubby. So you see, that's a very pale pink, but it is a pink and it's nice. So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this one, probably the last one, because it's a boring process, unless you don't like colouring in. But again, you know, you're colouring in the lines. It's a good practice, and you would be amazed at how much colour comes out. Because you think the brush is dry, and you think, okay, then that's it. I'm going to chuck it out now. Just going to rinse it. But the other thing is, you're learning that from this one, oopsie, a bit too wet that one. From this one colour in here, you're learning about colours, because you've got all these other shades that you probably wouldn't have thought about. You know, that's a deep dark red. How on earth are you going to get pink? It's all to do with water. So I've got 6 there and 6, and I've still got colour. You still have colour. It's getting paler, but still colour. So I'm probably going to go in the middle. I mean, that's the colour of the paintbrush now. You know, it's still got colour on it. So there is still some colour in there. So I'm going to do the middles, and these are going to be very pale. But I'm going to do the middles because they're going to match, because it's a match of the colour. I'm only doing the middles of these two because the others I want to do differently. Because again, I am a little bit wary that this is a really nice colour book. Oops, that was a little bit too wet. That's a little bit too wet, but there's still quite a bit of colour in there. So we could pick off this one. I'm not going to get through 6 reds, I don't think, on here. I mean, this is now a really, really pale. This is probably the pale as it gets, this one. But what a journey. And then I can do the middle, and then what I'm going to, because I'm going to do a background, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around these, and you can see there's a bit of a highlight on there. That was a little bit wet, but it can take it this. So that's the palest there. Isn't that a lovely pale pink? So I need, for my magic trick, clean water. I'll do it in here. This is my paintbrush. That's what I've wasted. So if you're doing this and you're lame, you can do this. And when I finished, there was hardly any colour. Now it's a bright red, so it stained the paintbrush, but there's hardly any colour in there at all. Now if I'd have put that red into here, that would have changed. I'd have had to get up and change the water. So we've got, I would class that pink as all the same, but these are different. So I've got quite a few pinks, and I've covered quite a nice area. So we'll keep that bottle. Now it takes a while. It takes probably 20 minutes to half an hour to each one, because you're using your colour up. So yes, it did take me all day, 12 hours. Yeah, it took me all day. It's 36 colours. If you do half an hour, sorry, 24. It's a long process. It's a long process. So it would be about 20 minutes to do each one of these pans. But I have got my little pot of colour there. That's going in my thing. So this is the main reason for doing it. This is a practice of colour, and you're colouring in. And then you can leave this beautiful big box at home. And if you look here, there's hardly any damage to the pans at all. That's the pan. I've done that twice to that pan and once to that one. So the next one is you pick the next colour and you do the next colour. And this then will fill up with different reds. Very similar to the way this did. I'm doing exactly the same as I did on this one. I did pinks and blues. I did the reds first, and then I went on to the pales. As soon as they started to be pale, I went back to there. So that is all those pinks, not the purples and the blues, but all those pinks and the salmon colours are all from 6 red Gansai Tambi watercolours. So there's a lot of colour there. I may have to stop because I'm not sure how everything's going, but it's just to show you. As I got 20 full pages. I mean, some I didn't like, some I did. That was the greens when they were very vibrant. You can chase the orange, red. You can chase it. You can see where it is, where it goes. You can chase the colour, the paler it gets. Same with the yellows. You can chase the yellows where they go. Same with the greens. You've got the deep greens, paler green, and it ends up those 2 greens. So those 3 are from those greens and yellows. That's how much colour you waste when you wash your brush out, if it's full of colour. Same with the purples. The purples started out dark. Again, I didn't really like these colours. Some more green there. These are very pale. But if you want to find pale colours, you found them. These were the blues. These were when they were getting quite pale as well. These were when they were quite vibrant. That was from the first time I did them. So I got 20 pages. Excuse me, it's a lot of cold tea. So I could do another one, and then I've really got to. So that one is number 35. So on the back, I'm just writing 35. And so I'm going to put that here. So I've got a wet brush. So I should dunk into there a couple of times. Make a puddle. Now you can actually take them out if you want. I probably won't because I dropped them. And if you really wanted, you could take the pan out and do it like this. So I've got a big fat puddle of colour here. Right. So that means that is colour. It's not just water on top. So I'm scooping that up and daubing it on. Scooping it up and daubing it on. And when you've scooped up all that big fat puddle there, and you can get toffee, stop it. So you've got your big fat puddle of colour sitting there drying, ready to go in your little book, and you've got a paintbrush full of colour. So again, I'm just going to pick out this red flower here, and I can twist it to a centre. So this is a nice, like a cherry red. Just going to touch the end, almost just breaking the surface. That's all you need to do, and the colour will flood out then. Because any more and you ruin your colour page. So we've got one petal from there. If we turn it round, and again you can do a bit of twisty and jiggery pokery because this brush isn't brilliant. Teasing that colour back down there to the point again. And just touch the tip. And I don't really want to mess up this book because it's a nice book, so I'm trying to be a bit careful. So again, you've got the practice of colouring in lines, so that's going to be good. Once you've finished doing all these, you're going to be quite good at colouring between lines. So every time that touches that water, it activates the dry paint in the top of the brush and drags it down to the point where you can then use it. As I say, this only works with this. And again, it's quite therapeutic. You're colouring in, and you're colouring in with paint that you would have thrown away. So, but it is a long process. But you've got to think it's a bit tedious, but you are making your little book of watercolours and you are colouring in. So if you can combine the two, let's say a rainy day would be good. You don't need a lot of space. You just need to use the tip of that water. Activate the spine of the neck of the brush, tease that colour out. So you can see, although it looked very similar to start with, this is now going a cherry red. So just by adding water, you've got all these wonderful tones and shades of red from that first vibrant colour. Right, so I'm going to do another one on this side because I want the pales to be on that side and the darks to be on that side. I think Alfie's disappeared. He's gone, there's food in there, so that's Alfie. He's not going to stick with me if there's food about. So I'm going to pick this little flower here. And I'm just going to keep going. Mandala is quite good because you can keep going round, but your colour will get paler. You've got to think about that. But for little flowers, this is probably very, very good. But you want a brush that's got quite a fat body, but then has got a bit of a good point. And this hasn't got a particular good point on it. Again, you're just breaking the surface of the water. And normally one dunk will do it. Oh, there's a cat. Alfie. Toffee, do not jump up here. And again, it's a different salmony pink almost, this one. But it's not a salmony red, it's a cherry red. So again, you can really find your colours instead of doing your colour swatch at the side. But the main thing of this is you are putting your colours into your colour book. Now most people would just rinse them out. But look how much colour you are actually throwing down the drain. And it's a tight Yorkshire lass. I can't do that. Now, I think Dee Dee has a little desk book. Jenny Belly scribbles it out on paper that she has lining her desk. So all her colour goes on her desk on a paper, and then she makes beautiful artwork from it. So again, there's lots of things you can do. I might leave that as it is. There's lots of ways to save this paint, but don't put it in the wash bag and just in the water pot and wash it out, because it's such a shame. So I'm going to go to that one there, and just, as I say, as soon as you break the surface of the water, you know you've got enough water that you're not going to damage. You're not going to damage the paper, because this is not watercolour paper. And you do need to just do that teasing action to tease the colour out of the neck. And you see that one's gone darker now, because there's a lot of colour in the, I think it's called the neck, the top end of the brush. And that's quite wet, so I can get another one out. All this colour would have been thrown away in the water pot. And you can create some really nice effects. And again, this Joanna Basford one is getting all my, not reject paints, but all my paints. So I've got to be fairly creative with it. And that's just that little bit thin. So I can pick out another flower, this one here, and as long as I do that teasing action, I'm squishing up the water up into the neck to release the paint that's dried at the top. And that releases, oops, so much paint. I'll do that one next because it'll dry. Because I don't want any lines really if I can help it. So again, I'm just breaking the surface of the water, teasing that colour down. And you can just go on forever really. It's ridiculous how much colour you get out. You don't realise how much paint you waste until you actually do this. Even I didn't. I did not think that I could do 20 pages from 36 brushes full of colour. And all these colours will actually look okay together because they're all connected. So it's not going to look like an odd page of just random colours because they are all connected. I'm going to go back and do that one then. So again, I'm just, oops, I've got to be a bit careful because that was wet. That was silly because that was wet. I'll leave it over there, but I am just breaking the surface. And teasing that colour out. Has anybody got any questions? Hi little P, welcome to Bunny's Designs. I'm teasing out colour from a dried paintbrush after I've transferred my Gansai Tambi watercolours to my paper palettes. But you don't have to do that anymore because Gansai Tambi watercolours have brought their own out. They've made a paper palette so you don't have to do this. So, because there we go then. I've got one more to go. So we've got some more now, and then is Alfie with you? Because he's not here. Are you coming back, Alfie? One of the ladies says her cat's looking for you. You gonna bark, Alf? He disappeared. He's disappeared. Alfie, come here. No, Alfie's been Alfie. This is how he hurts his back. Alfie's been, as well as my door, but never mind. So there still seems to be a lot more. So I'm going to pick out a few more flowers now because I cannot get rid of this colour. Whatever there's colour on this brush, it's going in here. I may have a look for another page because I don't really want to ruin this. Alfie, do not bob down there, darling. Be a good boy. So Alfie walked down the stairs today very carefully, one at a time, because during the night I felt a dog jump on the bed and I thought it was the little Jack Russell escaped upstairs. And I woke up and it wasn't, it was Alfie. So I was mortified to find that Alfie was on the bed. Again, a little bit of water, teasing that colour out. So I'm only going to do 2 of these because it's very boring, but I will warn you, it takes a long time. But as I say, you're colouring in, you're practising your colouring in between the lines, your brush skills, and you are saving all this paint that will be washed away. So that was the palest one for that one. And these are pale for this one. I mean, if you really didn't want to mess up the brush and get marks on like I have there, you can do that on another piece of paper if you wanted, and you wouldn't have those marks. I'm not sure what colour background I'm going to do on here. I might use the deepest green. Again, it's getting dry now, so I've got to think about the colour. So again, just breaking the surface. And because I'm actually going to do this, because I'm actually going to put a background in, I'm going to do this. So try to use a bit better quality brush than I have. They are now getting paler and paler, but there's still quite a lot of colour in here. So, I mean, but you can do it on different pages. You can pick this one pink for different pages if you wanted. I just wanted to show you on one page. And again, because they are connected colour-wise, they actually go together quite well. It works. It's a strange phenomenon, which again teaches you about colour. And this is a different pink to the other pink. This is a reddy pink. The other one was a sandy pink, a salmony pink, because the red was a warmer red. This is a colder, alizarin crimson-y kind of red. But again, of course, you don't know how to do this now because Gansai Tambi water colours have brought out a travel paper palette. So again, I'm just going to keep going because this colour is still going. And if you were doing this, you would pick the same pink for the same colours anyway. And that's a petal. So if I start over here, and there's still quite a lot of colour on here. I can't just wash it away. And this is a really lovely pale pink. It's a ribbon baby pink, this, I would think. So again, all I'm doing is just breaking the surface of the water with the paintbrush, and then teasing that colour out from the spine, and then it releases it and it becomes a watercolour. You've just got to be a bit careful you don't rub too much because you damage it. Now I'm going to put a little bit of water on that. And it needs to be somewhere else now. Oh, there's a pink one there, look. Yes, it is a bit, isn't it? As I say, I did this, but it takes a long time. It was a very long video. It took hours. But again, you are putting these into your... I don't know how much they are, the Gansai Tambi watercolours, if anybody wants to tell me how much they are. If I go back over that one, I'll have an actual highlight. That's what I was thinking of. I think, I say my little book's been out about 4 years, I think. I made my book. I made my book before the Gansai Tambi watercolours came out. So I'm actually going to pick out all these now. Just by bending that brush, you're forcing the little drop of water back up into the neck of the brush, and that's releasing the colour. Which would go down the sink. And because I'd put a drop of water on it, as I say, lots of people just rinse the brushes out. And the same thing with the Dr. Martens Hydrus as well. Definitely, very good pigmented watercolours will go on forever and ever and ever. It's just the amount of water you want to put to them. So I've done 2 little squares of colour, and I'm running out of flowers, pink ones as well, at least. But I'm going to put the greens here. I'm going to start the greens, and I'm going to got all the reds and the yellows. So I intended to do a dark page and a light page, but it hasn't worked out that way. But again, would you have done all these little flowers that are the same, a different colour? I don't think I would. I always pick one colour and kind of go for it. Now I've got this big one here, so I'm going to do this one. So I'm really teasing that colour out. Now, whoops, that's a bit too much water there. Now luckily this can take it. I don't know where all that water came from, but again, it's reconstituted all that colour. Got a funny feeling that was a leaf, actually. That one there's a leaf. Yes, I think that's a leaf, but I can go over it with a dark green, it's fine. I've got the same one at this side, so might as well carry on. It's very pale, but it's there. So it looks like I'm well on track of doing actually just got to tease that little bit out, but it's there, the colour's there. I might just do another one. Now you say you might want to bend it. You could even bang it on your fingernail if you wanted, like that. Twist it back to a point. and then carry on. Bye, little P. Have a good day. Thank you for stopping in. I understand everybody has to pop in and out. I'm recording this, but I don't know if it'll get to YouTube. It might. Hopefully it will. But I'm really liking these really, really pale baby pink colours, which have come from that very vibrant Elysian crimson. And there's probably enough in this brush to do another pink flower as well. It had dried, that bit of my nail. I thought I'd catch that bit, but it had dried. And so I can drop more water and again tease the water back up into the top, twist it to a point, and away we go. And they are getting very pale now, because that one was the palest we did. Look there. So this is almost as pale. So we've got quite a few quite a few colours out of there. That's the palest one for the first one, and that's the palest for there. But I think there's still some colour left in there, I think, because this pink is brighter than that one. So I'm going to give it one more go, and I'm going to just bend it so that is up into there. And look for some more of these little, and twist it to a point. Just need to go back to a point, because then you've got more control. That's a really very pale, pretty pink. And there's one here as well. But if that's kind of as pale as you want to get, that's a pale pink. So I'm going to just take off what's on. I've got some on the edge of the brush. So I'm not touching the brush. I'm touching the top. So that it's just the top of the brush. So there should be nothing in this brush. So again, that water is slightly pink, very slightly pink, but nothing compared to putting Elysian crimson in there and washing it out. So that's two pinks. Now I'm not going to do any more pinks on there, purely because I don't want any more pinks on there. I still want this to be a nice colour page. I think that's upside down now. Are we still upside down? Yes, we are. So there's an awful lot of colour on there from the two Gansai Tambi watercolours. So we've got 34 to do. So by the time I got all my little colours in here, my little fat puddles of colour, and they've lasted me a while, you know, they have lasted me quite a while. And I've got a lot of control here. If you notice the greens, I use it with a very fine brush to get some really nice effects. So they last a long time. But bearing in mind, this is a little travel book. This is the little travel book. If you want to sit and daub paint, you've got these at home. But this is a way to take your Gansai Tambi watercolours in your 21st century watercolour book, travel book. But Gansai Tambi watercolours have made their own palette now. So I'm going to stop the video there. I hope that's helped. Really like the colours. The Gansai Tambi watercolours. They are professional watercolours. They are wonderful. It's just I'm not very good at keeping them in their big box. So I've got 2 squares drying to put in Carol's little book that she won in the giveaway. And I've got another giveaway to go as well at on YouTube, but I can't get my videos on YouTube at the moment. So I'm going to keep this and show at the end how much I've saved. It is a bit pink, but of course you're dealing with alizarin crimson and bright red, so hey ho. So thanks for watching, and that will take me, I think it takes probably 20 minutes to half an hour each brush. You know, so you've got a good couple of days if you're not fast at working. But really wanted to play in here as well because I do like this book. So thank you for watching.